We're off to a great start, Professor.
We're doing great. How you doing, everybody? This is the AEW Dynamite Review from Bi-Conics Wrestling Podcast YouTube channel feed, wherever you're watching this. We had 2 countdowns going at once, and my brain literally fried at the top of this. I am John Crossway. I'm affectionately known as the Professor. I'm joined, as always, by the fabulous JVL and the Mikey, who runs this whole show. All of the Vibe Tribe things go through Mikey, all the socials, everything else. Mikey's working way too hard, and him and I being teachers, we're going to be drowning in a world of hurt coming up soon, because this is the end of August, and everything's going to go wrong.
Big hearts to both of you. Big hearts.
And for any of you who are following the teachers associations throughout the country, including the ones in California, we might have a work stoppage coming up in a few weeks, so it's going to be exciting.
Extended summer break.
Exactly. You might hear more from me as I wait here to see what goes on. Otherwise, how's everyone doing this morning? We're all right?
I'm tired because I have a show that opens tonight. And by the way, if you're watching this today and you're in the Burlington area, come out this weekend for Beasts of Crete. It is depressing and hysterical, and there's a giant Minotaur puppet. That's all I'll say. You have to come see it. It's really good. So yeah, if you can get tickets, find them online for Between the Willows is the company. Beasts of Crete, this weekend only, but thank you for that.
Burlington's a theater town, right? People come to the shows.
They come to the shows, especially if they're in the theater thing. But yeah, it's great. So that's where I'm sitting right now. I was tired. I got back from rehearsal last night, Professor, at about midnight Eastern, and decided, let's spend 2.5 hours watching Dynamite, which, was a thing. Wasn't bad. But honestly, I think, like, I rewatched it this morning to make sure I wasn't delirious. That opening segment, what the hell?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that probably looked like a fever dream by the end at 2 in the morning. Like,
it looked like one of our dress rehearsals from last week. And this is with like kids that have acted a bit but haven't acted a ton. Like I've seen better acting out of college kids here in Burlington.
Wow, shots fired already. Mikey, do you have anything to say about the opening of AEW Dynamite?
Okay.
The dress rehearsal we saw live of the Jericho Appreciation Society breaking up with Chris Jericho, kinda, sort of, in the ring.
So
Jericho Acting Society.
The Jericho Acting Studio.
Okay. So about that, right?
Mikey's like right in.
About this.
Yes. What is
this took 10 whole minutes, you guys. This whole segment was 10 minutes. It did not need to be that long.
It felt like 30. Like, it felt like a whole, like...
I'm gonna tell you why it felt like 30, right? The only reason it felt like 30 is because they did the trope that I hate when the factions break up. It's like everybody has to say their piece. I'm like, no shade to some of you guys, but you didn't really play that big of an important role in this faction. The only 2 people that I felt like should have said something was definitely Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara, because they're the ones who are on television most of the time, and maybe Anna Jay, but she should speak for her and Ty, because Ty gets a pass because I know English is not her first language and she's pregnant. So, but you know what? That one-liner,
the line of the promo,
exactly.
The line of the promo, saying like, I'm sick and it's not the baby, and I'm like, perfect. I'm glad you went there. Good on you. I'm surprised she didn't leave with Sammy. She left with Anna, even though it's Sammy's baby. So,
but I'm okay with. Honestly, I'm cool with girl power.
That whole promo, though, Professor, it's like they squeezed 3 months of build into one 10-minute segment and didn't let Chris Jericho talk. So you had no like they could have done this without him there.
Absolutely could have, and that's what made it horrible for me. Was sort of, and we were talking about this before we started. This sense of they're all here to stop Chris Jericho, and every time Chris Jericho talked, they went above and beyond to shut him down. Hi guys, I just want to talk about. No, you listen to me. He's like, he's not even coming at you aggressively, which arguably is what manipulators do. So Chris Jericho's there to manipulate some other people, and he's already manipulating the promo because he's been doing this longer and he's better at it.
Also, just to put it out there, this is kind of like a break kayfabe type of moment, but also like it plays every time he comes out. Have you not listened to the lyrics of his entrance music? This is exactly what he was going to do to you. It has been set up every time he has entered. How are you surprised?
And Columbus, Ohio loved his music. They sang that long into the promo. They're still singing, and they're trying to get their moment back, and the crowd is still going for it. I don't want to break down everything each of them said because it's sort of mute and didn't land. A lot of people really, really liked this on the internet. They actually thought this was a great breakup thing. They thought that it leads to other storylines. there were faux emotional moments in my acting opinion, but folks on the internet went all in on it. And
Did they
thought it
watch
was
the
solid.
same promo we did? They're high. Are they absolutely nuts?
The only emotion was Matt Menard.
Yeah.
And that was speaking from his heart. Like, that's actually all of that is true. Like, when they got kicked out of NXT and all that stuff, like, that stuff's true. And they name check Kevin Steen, so awesome. But, like, yeah.
I agree. And I think that what's hard and theater people get this, and as an acting teacher, I'm going to jump all over it because I can. There's this, yes, you're feeling it. Off the top rope, bad acting. If you're feeling it, you have to breathe and speak through it. You can't let it stop you. So there's a lot of emotions that they had that they were just kind of choking on, or they were acting off the line. They were acting walking up the ramp, or they were acting before they spoke, or they were acting listening to somebody else instead of putting it on the line, which is really super difficult. And maybe we just need a whole acting podcast on acting for wrestlers and whatnot like that.
I'm all set with that. We'll do that as a segment somewhere.
Could be fantastic. So, and again, and for those of you that heard the SummerSlam review or want to go check that out, Lewis,
2 hours of your time. Yep.
2 hours of your time. Lewis brought up a great point that a lot of the acting for pro wrestlers is sort of that mirror acting, where it's sort of, I'm here in the room, I'm going to look at my face, I'm going to go over and over and over again, rehearsing it to myself, which is incredibly useful when your time constraints are short. However, if you're not running it as a dialogue, you're going to get stuck when you start having to make eye contact and breathe in front of people and whatnot. I kind of liked Sammy Guevara's thing at the end. I wish he stayed in that moment. This is me with director hat. Stay in that moment. It's awkward. It's weird. It kind of hurts. You're feeling something. Don't turn your back. Make eye contact and breathe through it. Chris Jericho never broke eye contact. He was all in on every single moment. So he's had some coaching or theater presence type stuff.
He was a good support player through what he could do with very little given to him because he was being cut off. He's that guy in the improv scene that, like, I don't want you to speak because you're going to say something weird and make this ridiculous.
I've been that guy.
We need you here because your facial expressions are worthwhile.
Yes. And I want. Do we have a theory on how long do we think they had to pull this together?
This week, on the bus.
Like,
honestly,
literally.
probably.
The bus.
Yeah, on the bus over, basically from the airport, they were all talking to, like, because you could, especially with like Ty, who was like trying to remember her lines. She was handed a script probably as they got to the venue that day. So
sure.
My other thing, and this is the last bit I'll talk about here, is while it was impactful and a couple of the other ones were really good, God damn it, Daniel Garcia, know where the hard cam is. Because they couldn't get the cameraman around to get your face, and he was emoting really well.
Sure.
But his back was to the audience the entire time. And so unless you're able to like see the lips moving a bit and kind of pick it up, he was slurring through the words a bit and trying to get him out fast before he gyrated at Jericho and then threw it off on him. But like everything else worked. Just, once we got past Jake Hager, everyone else was like, okay, I know we're performing now. We're going to be like able to be seen. Matt Menard knew where the hard cam was. He was at that thing the whole time.
Sure.
But the rest of them, like, I know you're talking to Jericho, but you gotta play to the audience too. You just can't be like, it's not a backstage segment. You're out in the ring.
You're doing theater in the round with a hard cam, and you're upstaged. That's a tall order for any theater actor in the world. Make pro wrestlers do it in a spot with a microphone. Really super. They were not set up to succeed.
They were not. And I will say this again. This is a half joke, but I'm in a show in a transverse stage. So audience on both sides. We had cameras last night, and I had 20-year-old actors and 18-year-old actors that did better playing to that space than I saw on stage here with a bunch of seasoned wrestlers and also wrestlers that haven't. So it can be done with very little time or lead time. Most of these kids have never performed in the round. You can do it, but I know they've got a lot on their plates. So, and I know Anna Jay was also prepping for her match later on, which we'll get to that later.
Sure.
That was rough.
So that was the promo. 10 minutes of my day.
Mikey, did it ruin it for you? Did it ruin the rest of AEW Dynamite?
No, this didn't. I was more speaking on the match itself because we'll get into the main event match.
That
ending kind of took
I have
me
a
out
TK
of it.
accountability corner coming up pretty hard for that.
Here we go. I'm excited for episode 2 of 3 of this.
Well, the problem here that lies is that what we got next also kind of deflated everything because, Renee tried when we come back from commercial, Renee tries to interview Chris And then before he could get a word out, once again, always being interrupted, Don Callis comes in, apologizes, saying, if I played a part in this. And then Chris like, I have
awesome.
See, that was okay. But then Chris is like, yeah, I have an answer for you. I'm just like, I'm going to wait to see what his answer is next week. Because if he's all in on the Don Callis family, I'm just like, then Chris, it's true what they said. You're a piece of crap. Like, you only care about yourself.
Them because they're pushing it out a week. Like, you never know what the hell's going to happen with this.
Yeah. I did not like that how poorly staged this promo was, but for a story, like, it's just this trope of I'm going to walk down a hallway with a suitcase, or I'm just going to walk down a hallway thing, an empty hallway, a hallway with no people in it, in the bowels of this Coliseum.
which they remedied later on as a non-empty hallway behind Kenny Omega. There was at least two people walking behind him.
Like, call Central Cast and get some extras. Come on. It's really interesting that, again, and now we have somewhere to go in the sense that is he going to go with Don Callis and go full heel again and be the Chris Jericho the nine, right? Because there's 8 iterations of Chris Jericho. or does he go back?
For all my non-Latin speakers out there, it is pronounced nueve. Just saying.
Nueve. Sorry, nueve.
Not with a B, with a V. It's nueve.
I'm saying nueve. I'm saying nueve.
And this has been your
Spanish in elementary school. I have an idea.
And this is your Spanish lesson for the episode.
Thank you so much. My kitchen Spanish is terrible.
I have about 100 Mexican cousins, and they would all be disgusted with me. Moving on. So we have
Commander.
They're very upset that I am Gringo of the North. I think that we finally rode a way out of this Jericho Appreciation Society. We finally found an out. So now everyone in the Jericho Appreciation Society has something to do, because it seems like the last 16, 17 months, they've had nothing to do.
Except for Jake Hager. He's not going anywhere.
Sure. The cult of Chris Jericho. I don't know if this is a bait and switch where he says yes to Don Callis and then says anyone who wants to come with me to the Don Callis family can come with me. Gives them sort of an out. Or if it's the other way, he says no to Don Callis and says, I'm going to create a new Jericho Society, Cult of the Jericho, Wall of whatever, like some other thing for fans. And they do it all over again. That seems like the pro wrestling, you shouldn't do this, but you're going to because you think that you need to thing.
Yeah.
That they're just going to run this again and again and again and again. But I don't know. This is what I'm truly stumped on. Like, where do you even go from here?
It's going to be totally set up by next week. That's the only thing. And then getting through the big pay-per-view. That's going to be where we get anything out of this. And unfortunately, it's still a bit to go from there. So they kind of like blew this out of proportion before the... Yeah, go ahead.
It's not just the big pay-per-view. It's the next two, because they're literally back-to-back, which I'm still worried about because, I mean, we finally are starting to get matches for All In, but then I'm like, then what are you saving for All Out then?
Well, and All Out's competing with Collision. It's on the same night.
I was going to ask about this. Why would they double book their own stuff?
I'm assuming Collision becomes the pre-show.
So they're going to have
and if it's the right time zone, right?
They're going to have Collision on Sunday instead? What?
No. They're going to have Collision on set. It's already been set up. Collision and All Out are both on the same Saturday. They're competing with themselves.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Hold up. I'm checking my facts real quick. Be right back.
It's okay.
Mike is going to check that.
While we're moving on to the next part of the night.
Sure. After that promo, we get... Okay. Is this... All right. Thoughts quickly. Yes. Young Bucks, Hardy Boys, they come out for a tag match. The Young Bucks come out. I have not seen this, the hallucinogen tie-dye version of the Young Bucks. I did not dislike it. I'm wondering if they're trying to completely change themselves over, or was just something random.
No, they've done that before. They had that, especially when they're not working with Kenny Omega. They do that a lot.
Okay. That's one I hadn't seen.
Yeah.
I'm always nervous seeing the Hardy Boys. I love the Hardy Boys to death. I think that Matt is trying super hard, and I'm just happy Jeff's alive. Jeff, you're alive. Great. Keep going. Matt has a hard time walking and moving. However, even though physically there were some spots here that didn't quite go well, they looked like it was 10 years ago in this tag.
They got taken care of by the Bucks. The Bucks know how to work the Hardys as well as they can. The only spot for me that didn't work was the double pin, because it took Jeff so long. You could hear the ref counting the 5 count on Matt Hardy before Jeff got on there to like put his legs down. So it's like there were pieces, and even commentary was like, yeah, you can see the Hardys now, they're working kind of like a slower, more methodical pace now. Like,
Yes.
let's see what happens, just to get that over that they are old and broken and they probably shouldn't be doing this, but they are.
That's what I was going to ask. Is this a credit to the Young Bucks kind of
absolutely. No question asked.
I don't want to say holding them up, because I don't mean holding them up because you don't need to hold up the Hardy Boys, but taking care of them and not just letting them drown.
I will say this has been the best. This has been the better match that the Hardys have been in. But then again, the bar was already on the floor after their 0-hour pre-show match for Double or Nothing. I checked my facts. So I guess, I don't know how it's going to work, but All Out is scheduled for Sunday, September 3rd. So
it's on Sunday and not Saturday.
Well, it makes sense because usually the last couple of All Outs have been scheduled on Sundays, but that's because they have it on Sunday, and then people can recover because it's Labor Day the next day. So
true. There had been reports on the news channels this morning that it was both on Saturday, so how that was going to happen. But maybe they were talking about a WWE pay-per-view coming up that's the same weekend.
Payback is on the 2nd, so it's going to be Payback versus Collision on that Saturday, and then there's a lot of All Out is the next day. We have our work cut out for us.
We're going to be busy.
That's a hell of a weekend for us.
Yeah, we're all going to be sitting together on couches virtually and watching a bunch of crap. Which is like our weekend just be live streamed.
10 days into the school year, we have a 3-day weekend of all that.
But it's weird because but then we get a break, and then those of you who want to, we have NXT No Mercy at the end of the month of September. It's going to be great.
NXT's showing up.
It is. I'm watching it now without being asked. It's ridiculous.
Love it.
But back to this match though.
Back to this match.
There were two spots for Jeff Hardy I got worried. One was the Whisper in the Wind, not from the launch, but he landed hard on the top of his shoulders because he wasn't caught by the Bucks. He literally went straight down. Sure. The other was the Swanton. Usually now he's been doing it safer where he's landing full back and not like taking it all on his neck. He was so close. He took it straight on the spine and you saw him get up with a bit of a stinger. So I'm like, ooh, adrenaline there. But like, Jeff, you're not that young anymore. This is going to be a little hard on you.
I wrote down Lovely Swanton by Jeff. And then I watched it again and went, that looks lovely, but probably hurt.
That's the way he used to do it when he was in his 20s.
Yeah.
And he's been not doing it that way for a while because it's been saving his back and his hips. But for some reason, I guess tonight was like, I'm going to pull it out and show that I can still do it, and took it on the neck. And it's like, oh, Jeff, this is why you're on drugs.
This is one of those matches where, and I'm not an old person, I'm just older, where you have one of those days where you're like, you know what? I can do that. Yeah. And you throw the extra weight on, or you do a little bit of extra work in the yard, or you figure
I'm just gonna bigger.
You just have bigger gestures. Here. Lots of dirty jokes.
Mikey, it's coming for you.
It comes for us all.
Giggity.
I wonder if it was one of those. Like after 4 minutes in, the Young Bucks are just doing so well with them that they're like, you know what? I'm feeling it. And then they just do a little too much.
Yeah,
so
probably.
Today they wake up and go, oh God, and they just take a bath in ibuprofen just to make themselves feel normal again.
It's all the pills in the bathtub. They're not even taking it. They're just like osmosising it through them. I don't think Jeff Hardy could be that near that many pills now, but at least by law.
The old Motley Crue trick. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
But as we knew, John, from this entire match was set up to be the Bucks' response to FTR, which they didn't even get to say. Like FTR just interrupted them.
It was so funny. It was good.
They didn't say anything. And commentary later had to establish a lot of things. I'm like, oh, cool. Because at first it's like on Collision leading into this, it's like we're to have a third rubber match. I'm like, okay, rubber match, cool. And then later in the show, when they show the placard, I was like, okay, yeah, FTR versus the Bucks. Wait a minute, why is it for the AEW Tag Team Championships? Huh? I thought we were having a rubber match. Now you're okay, sure, why not?
Let's make it as big as possible.
I love that it was 5 minutes with 4 words.
It's
3 letters
so
and
good.
2 words, like just nothing, just stone faced.
And better acted than the damn 10 minutes at the beginning of the show.
For real.
You don't need words. I tell this to my students all the time. You could go 20 minutes, no words, and it tells a story. Sometimes words get in the way. Sometimes we talk too much. I do have a question. What was this? Was that a numbing spray that they were spraying on the Hardys?
Cold spray.
It's just cold spray. Like condensed,
Brandon
like cold
Cutler
air.
Yeah, Brandon Cutler they use it in the NBA sometimes to cool down the athletes when they're out there. That's been his gimmick for the last 2 years on the Bucks as he comes out like.
I love Jeff Hardy's just like hit me with it, hit me.
I know Hardy was like back here, right where he did the swanton. Like, hit me
exactly.
With
it. And Jeff Hardy's like, oh.
Which I love that they continue that from the week before where the Hardys came out to save the Bucks, and so they're like, there's that respect there still of like, nope, we beat you, but no, Brandon's going to help you out. He's not spraying it in the face or anything else. Like he's doing it great. So
it's a rarity. It's a rarity, and I hope it's not a trope. These matches that end with aggressive pins and then like handshakes and hugs. I hope it doesn't become taken for granted.
Ring of Honor.
ROH.
Ring of Honor.
Watch ROH.
Does it happen all the time?
Watch ROH with me tomorrow. Join our review. It'll be fun.
Oh no. Oh, I hope it's not done.
You don't have to be a regular thing, but like before you go back to school, watch it with us once because Mikey and I have a fun time going over ROH, and we'd love to have you on boord.
All right, maybe all right.
Join us tomorrow. We'll talk off camera when we're going to record.
We'll talk about it. Hey kids.
Okay.
So all that happens. Okay. So we then go to, if I'm not mistaken, we jump to the Adam Cole MJF in the trampoline park.
Well, technically that's the next segment. We'll dive deep into it, but then they take like a couple minutes on my television screen to explain we're having a fatal 4-way for this women's championship. And then I see the brackets. I'm like, okay, Toni Storm making sense. She has a bye. She's invoking the rematch clause. She's automatically in. Cool. Then I look at the other matches. I was like, all right, so Hikaru, you're beating Anna Jay. Saraya, you're beating.
Spoiler for the end of the night.
Saraya, you're beating Sky, unfortunately, because you know.
You need to pop in Wembley. Makes sense
right?
Because they have no.
And Britt, you're beating the Bunny, which sucks because she's finally returning. She's wrestling. But
this is my question. With that, because Britt is so banged up, I know they want Britt involved, especially with Saraya there. But if she's that banged up, wouldn't it make sense to put the Bunny in as the person to take the pin?
Shoot, I would be okay if Bunny gets in because I missed her. Surprisingly enough, like I like Bunny, and I missed her on my television screen.
I'm not saying it's probably going to be Britt. You're probably right, but I keep thinking in the back of my mind, if Britt's as banged up as they say she is, and she's waiting for Jamie Hayter to be there, you probably want to put the Bunny in. But then on the same point, if Britt's about to lose and Hayter appears because she's injured, but she can be there, she'll get the pop at Wembley to help out Britt, get her the belt back as well, and then all of a sudden we've got a whole thing there. So
I'm sad that Jamie is not competing in any capacity.
She deserves that pop so bad.
It's her home.
Yeah.
But
and you can talk about this in the accountability corner when we get there. Since I'm only 16-ish, 17 months into AEW, and it's a travesty that I hardly know any of these women's storylines, or I've seen them once or twice.
What storylines?
I mean, let me take that back,
Professor.
I don't know anything about any.
I would sit you down, Professor, literally tomorrow and force feed you the last 2 years of women's wrestling in AEW, which would take us all 40 minutes.
Serious. Like you laugh, but that is.
I don't mean to laugh. I'm not laughing.
No, you said no. You laugh, but like you have a right to laugh because it's that absurd and ridiculous. Like
I'm not being facetious. I'm really not.
So I knew when I saw this bracket, I'm just like, once again, Tony Khan, I know you're trying, not hard enough, but these are so predictable, and I'm like, okay, like I understand you want certain women. But for me personally, I was just like, I don't know. Honestly, I would have like thrown Nyla Rose at this tournament. I thought, her and
Penelope Ford, maybe.
Oh my gosh, Penelope Ford.
Statlander in there.
You have such an eclectic roster. Like, I know you want to try to keep Dynamite and Collision separate, but you could have thrown Willow into the match or something.
This is a curveball. I don't know.
The fact that all these qualifying matches are happening on Dynamite and Rampage, I'm like, so the Collision women are just not okay. Sure, why not? Fine, be that way.
How many women are on the AEW roster?
Too many to count.
Let's check the stats here.
I'm looking right now. Oh my god, there are hundreds of you.
Remember that the AEW roster does comprise ROH as well, so they are using them in between. But even with that, there's still way more. They could have their own like Stardom promotion with just the women and be fine. But they won't.
There are 40 women on the roster. About 10 of them are hurt or considered inactive.
But that still leaves you with
not hurt. She's pregnant, but still.
But you still have 30 women you can pick from.
Well, and also if you wanted, so this is, I know we're getting into this quickly anyways, but I liked the fact he put Hikaru in the tournament and to defend the title all the way through to get to that, which is great. I think it would have been an interesting idea to stick Athena and Statlander in there as well.
Champions.
So all your women's champions in this tournament that all have a chance at this. And as they get knocked out as they go, or they face each other, it just sets up these dream matches you could have down the road. But you have to use what you have there, and you have to use kind of that mid-card filler, which for Tony is like lower card.
Honestly, I would have liked a bragging rights champions match where you take Hikaru, Athena, Chris, and then see, I feel like Tony, I know we're at Wembley. I would have treated All In as like a semi-secondary Forbidden Door, and maybe if you could work something out with New Japan or Stardom, like grab Julia, Julia is the New Japan Women's Strong Champion, or somebody, or even grab like one of the women's champions in the UK. Like, I'm just saying.
Or honestly, do a tournament of all of the contenders that have lost in the last month to the champions that are there now. Like, they just lost their matches. We have all of them in the tournament to get that final spot of like, we were the best. We all didn't do this. We're going for a new title. You stick Nyla, you stick Willow, you stick, Diamante or whoever else it is in this thing that have been like the number one contenders as a like get back in there, because Toni Storm is, it was going to be Toni Storm, but she pulled her, her claws. But either way, they set up this tournament that I'll get into it when we get to the main event, but sets up this kind of weird tournament that is kind of predictable and in a way should have been used a lot better on the night itself, because there could have been more storylines coming out of it. But all we get is a graphic for it and the one match, which is utterly insane.
It's
in case anyone's interesting, this is just a random shout out because I just stumbled upon this. AEW.1 is the AEW Women's Division blog. It's updated weekly.
Yeah.
I just pulled this up, clicking stuff. I'm like halfway through an article while you two were talking, so I apologize, but I was reading about women's wrestling on AEW.
Good.
Oh no, that's one of my homepages when I pull up my browser.
Is it?
So
it just echoed 3 or 4 things you were saying. I was like, we're talking about this right now. Like, this is what you just said. I'm gonna bookmark this.
Seriously,
okay.
it's a great resources.
And we know he's listening. As we go into the next couple segments, we know he's listening to our podcast because I called all of this.
Yeah, and he sent a lightning bolt to your house last week, so we could
For
never
real.
get mods.
Seriously.
Because I badmouthed Impact for some reason. He sent a lightning bolt to my house.
Yeah, he got on the phone and he was like, "Can you send a lightning bolt to Vermont and just hit this coordinates, please? That would be fantastic." Thank
you missed me by that much.
So yeah,
that much.
This women's tournament kind of left somewhat of a bad taste in my mouth, and we'll talk about it later. Because the main event, as fun as it was, the ending just really sucked the air out for me. But let's get into
There's a reason for that. And we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
but
there's some good.
Moving on now.
This good stuff. God, this trampoline park segment with Adam Cole and MJF was like the best. God, this is so great. I'm gonna tell you, the best character in that whole thing was the little girl towards the end when she flipped them off at the end. I was like, yes.
I think there's a few things when you really think about this spot and how they did it that make it funnier to me, knowing how indie films work and YouTube spots and some of this other behind the scenes things. The fact that they got the trampoline park, they said, "Can we shoot our thing here?" "Yeah, you got to wait till we close." "Okay, great." So it's an empty parking lot. They're in the middle of the night. Fine. Which means they had to get kids to go there in the middle of the night to do this. And they only had like 6 or 7 kids there at the most. We only saw like 4 or 5 and there was a teenager, which tells me they're probably children of AEW regulars or producers
or the crew
or writers,
or the wrestlers themselves.
Someone's kids to go play. So the fact that you're a kid, you get to go play with MJF and Adam Cole in a trampoline park in the middle of the night and goof off and swear and fuck around. What a dream that would be.
Forget kids. I want to do that. Like
that sounds fantastic.
The kids were great. Like when they were showing the shots of all the damage, I want to give credit to that one boy whose like tongue was hanging out. Yes. I was like, yes. And the little girl who was on the phone, and she's like, "Oh." The janitor also killed it for me. He's like,
I think it's they're doing the perfect sitcom buildup that I talked about months ago. Like, I really want to see this forever. Yeah. I love that MJF is just the sex hungry, money, living it up guy. Adam Cole is the puppy dog that wants to do all these other things MJF doesn't want to do.
Adam Cole is
Max,
such
how high I
a
can go. Look
he's
at it.
such a
Look at it.
he's such a grown kid. I love it.
Look what I can do. What are you doing?
Honestly, I feel like if we all got together in person like that, actually would be all of us.
Oh,
I got a
absolutely.
trampoline place up the road. I mean, come on.
We got one here in town too. I try not to play dodgeball because I don't trust any of them tiny bastards.
They go for the balls every time.
They cheat, and I remember cheating, so I know how they think. I love this. I think I never want it to end. I would love more variation here and there, but the fact that they're doing so much with so little, it really feels like, hey, you got 3 hours, go shoot your shot, and they're doing it every time. They're finding a restaurant, a trampoline park, bars, anything they can to shoot these.
Yeah.
My only thing, and this is me thinking ahead, it's almost too good because now no one wants it to end, and now the fans are almost ruining promos, and we'll talk about that when we get there because the fans don't want it to stop.
Somebody's getting their heart broken at the end of this, and us fans, it doesn't matter who, we're gonna be heartbroken too.
Somebody already got their heart broken because Roddy Strong got buried again.
Generic white guy. We'll talk about that because MJF didn't have to go that hard.
Taylor Swift bitch. Like, oh my God.
Oh,
Like Adam Cole and MJF trying not to laugh the second half of that whole night.
Yeah.
Is fantastic. Adam Cole just being like, "Oh, dude, that was mean." Like you see on his face, like, "Oh, fuck, that was really."
MJF
good. Like,
gives no fucks. Like he went in on Adam Cole. I was like, damn. And then he went in on Roddy. I was like, damn.
And I know, and we'll get there. We have other things to talk about, and we'll get there. I know, but that's all about this problem. These are so good. The fans love them so much. They don't want it to end.
They don't.
And now it's similar to an LA Knight situation. You're ahead of creative.
Yeah.
You're way ahead of creative, and they can't catch up because what they obviously wanted, nobody cares about. And MJF is just going to bury you. And Adam Cole, like, yeah, I'm along for the ride. Let's go.
WWE is slowly giving us what we want with LA Knight because this was actually a good episode of Raw this week. And me and Minnie were like, where are we? Like,
Go
what?
back and watch the review. Now posted on the BC Wrestle Pod YouTube channel.
Speaking of,
him versus the Miz thing light up on the Twitter and the internet, and I went, "Oh my goodness!"
I threw away my question. I was like, "Isn't LA Knight a SmackDown star though?" I don't care. Like I was willing to throw that to the side. It was great.
Forever. He's gonna go down to NXT and win that belt from Dom. That's what they're gonna do.
He just came up from NXT, anyways. But you mentioned the initial. You mentioned the letters BC, so this jumps into this. Okay, like this might just be me, but like I hated this Blackpool Combat Club promo in the back in the locker room. I was just like, Claudio and Wheeler, I know you're trying, but damn you guys, like
is there a reason Moxley was phasing Wheeler out?
I don't know, bro. Like I forgot Wheeler was in this promo because like Mox was blocking him the whole time. And then Claudio is just there. I'm like, Claudio, you gotta give me emotion, bro. Like you're just even keeled the whole entire time.
He was all oiled and like muscled. He wasn't going to be able to move. And we got fun Claudio as they left that match later on. Like that, I was like, there's Claudio right there doing the stupid puppet thing. Like it was like, there you are.
I had some personal issues with this match when we get to it later.
No.
There's a few things I thought in there. This promo was funny because it just looked like Moxley was running the show, and I don't know.
He is running the show.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to fault anyone yet if it's the perception, reality, or whatever, because he's definitely like, I'm the head of this faction. Look at me. And I get it. And I like John Moxley a lot. Nothing but respect.
I think he's doing I think my issue with this promo, and maybe you two can kind of give me the correct terms for it, because Moxley, when he gives promos, is a very animated person. Like he walks around the scenery as he gives his promo. But then you have Claudio and Wheeler in the back, like full static, like they're not even reacting to moving out of the way a little bit. And like, I'm focused on Moxley, and I know his promo skills are awesome, but I feel that when you have that moving motion and the other two players in the scene are just static and not even reacting or even like shuffling out of the way when Moxley is going into their space or whatever, I was just like, it's kind of taking me out a little bit. And then I forgot Wheeler was there because Mox was blocking him half the time.
Wheeler was dancing though because he started to match Moxley a little bit and then he stopped because he realized, oh crap, I'm pulling focus. Whereas I feel like if Mox is so removed from the rest of the people he's in the promo with, if he even like slapped Claudio or like would like touch the people and just engage them, it would be better for them being stoically there, because then you see the difference in posture and stuff like Noogie Wheeler or like slap Claudio across the face, something to do with that. But at the same time, I was watching this promo and I'm going, holy shit, he's channeling the Ultimate Warrior. Like he's back there doing everything else, talking out his ass. I'm like, he's not on coke like the Warrior was, but he definitely is on something.
When the aliens come down, they will ravage the
I want him to start doing this and like turn the back and like just but no. So I think you're right, Mikey. They haven't found the way to gel the three of them. Like when Danielson's there with them, because Danielson's planted at all times and like on camera, so Mox can like walk around wherever he wants and the other two can get in the way. Mox needs to engage his other members more and not just be the headpiece of the BCC.
Right.
And that's what they're missing.
I think it's how they're directed. I don't think they're.
You think they're directed?
Well, it's
as little direction as they're getting.
I think it's literally like, let Mox go, try to be in shot.
Right, and that's doing a disservice to all of them because they're not getting any. It's like, yeah, that's good. We'll take that one, as opposed to telling them what it actually looks like. There was a promo, I want to say, just this spring, which was at one of the peak BCC promos they had, and it was Moxley and Daniel Bryan Danielson and Takeshita and somebody else all walking at once, and then so all four of them are walking, trying to do this thing in and out, and it was just this messy, like, what are you doing? This was the extreme the other way, where it's just Moxley and you two stand here and do nothing. And
Yuta's like the kid brother too. Like he's not been showcases anything. He's literally there. It's like the BCC and Wheeler Yuta's there too.
I still think you should have put Yuta in Ring of Honor and kept him as one of your main roster main talents for Ring of Honor. I feel like he thrived more over there.
It's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm. But either way, so that was set up. Mox kind of talked about like, we run this place, we have no respect for people. I love the line, hopefully Sue got the flowers we sent her. I'm like, oh.
Justice for Sue's fans. I would just have Sue come in and fight BCC.
No, Sue joins BCC, becomes their driver in like a demolition derby style car that drives them around.
And her finish is the pasta head move. She just comes in the ring and goes, bam, and then walks away, gets back in the van.
The Desperado and John Moxley match lives in for the professor's head. Okay,
it's there. I watched the whole thing and like, this is so amazing.
Okay,
but so we got done with that. We go into the match. I believe that's next, right?
Jack Perry versus Rob Van Dam for the AEW. I guess I called it the AEW FTW Championship, whatever it's called. Okay, so I have some feelings and thoughts on this match. I actually was I was more pleasantly surprised. I was like, Rob is doing a lot better than I initially thought he was going to, and he doesn't look as high as he did last week.
No, he was moving like he was like 30 years ago.
I was like, this was pretty solid. There was one moment that I did panic, not for him, but for Jack Perry, and that's when they were on the top turnbuckle, and Jack Perry was ready to do something, and then I also feel like Rob didn't punch him hard enough, but Jack Perry then is just like throws himself. He's like, down onto the table. I'm like, oh, that angle to that barricade. Oh no.
Really hard, yeah.
I wrote in my notes that Rob Van Dam killed Jack Perry when he had him over the barricade and jumped off the apron to do whatever that beautiful.
Oh, he does that all the time.
Fine, but like the impact sound of that and the reaction of Jack Perry's body was like he just killed a man on television.
Well, that's honestly because Rob Van Dam is about 30 pounds heavier than he was when he was doing it in ECW. So it's a lot more man meat coming down on you.
Sure.
The thighs are bigger, the guts bigger. So and he used to do that more with them in the ropes than on the barricade, although this was going full on. I will say this, Jack Perry fit into that hardcore-ish style a lot better than I thought he was going to do.
I agree.
Like, set Rob up for success the entire time.
Jack Perry, the heel, is amazing.
Be the deathmatch god.
This is but deathmatch. This is what the
Moxley would kill him.
Exactly. That's what I want to see.
Fourth or fifth match we've seen as pure heel Jack Perry. I'm buying the music now. I'm buying the simplicity of this now. His costume fell apart in the first few minutes, right? Those were his shin guards that just kind of flew off his pants, right? Because he's trying new stuff.
At least his pants didn't come undone, unlike somebody else we saw in SummerSlam.
That was undone.
Yeah.
That was just disintegrating.
That was Brock Lesnar trying to do a bra and panties match.
Brock Lesnar. Anyway,
I think that this is the direction Jack Perry needs to go. It's simple. It's straightforward. You can write for this, and it seems like it's getting him the respect of other wrestlers. Because all of a sudden his fourth match as a heel is Rob Van Dam. Like, what? Are you kidding me?
Well, and he has Taz backing him up on, like, I hate this guy because it's Taz's title. Like, I'm enjoying where I wonder what it's going to take to get Taz to do something about this, because Taz's son lost the damn belt. You know,
Right.
all of his friends are failing. He can't come back in and wrestle them. But there's going to be something with Taz coming soon where either, like, he gets put in the Taz mission or something, and then, like, Luchasaurus comes out and wrecks him. I don't know. It'll be something interesting.
Something. It's going somewhere, and I'm happy that they gave Jack Perry something to do. I disagree with the internet. I actually really liked this match.
I did too.
I thought this was fun.
I'll be honest, like, my expectations were kind of a little bit lower because I was just like, but that's not because I don't like anybody in this match. It's just that usually when you bring an older wrestler in,
It's because you don't want to get hurt again.
exactly, I don't want them to get hurt. I was like, you got children, you got bills, like, you got significant others, like, there are more important things to protect here. But ultimately, Rob did a lot better than I thought he was. Jack Perry, and this style of match was something that we haven't really seen that much since he's been in AEW. And I'm like, weirdly, I kind of like him being like the deathmatch person or the anything goes type of person. Honestly, I think...
Or fitting into whoever's match style he has to go up against.
Exactly.
Yes,
He doesn't bring his own. He's got to be in their match style, so whatever it might be.
And do that match style just as good and still find a way to cheat and win. Like,
Yes.
and that was, I thought that was great. That chest pass to the chair to the ref, that ref took a shot.
Oh my God, yeah.
That was that was the edge of the chair to the face.
Welcome to ECW 2.0.
Bam! Like, that's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, I love the roll up with the tights for Jack Perry to win, and I'm like, I'm okay with that because it's an anything goes match. So I'm like, pulling tights is not illegal in this match, so that makes sense. But now I'm interested.
This is a meta thing. I don't know what gets you disqualified anymore. I don't know what gets you disqualified from matches. Like, you can do whatever you want, it seems, and it's like, that's okay.
As long as
nut punch.
Well, nut punch is legal. It's like,
the ref sees everything now.
I love the fact that they did it in front of Aubrey, and she's like, "It just happens, man."
Yeah.
She has the best wrestling record in AEW, by the way.
Do we think this is a Rob Van Dam is back, or Rob Van Dam is here every now and then, or was this like a hey?
I think it was a one shot because Rob Van Dam still has his deal with like the Legends deal in WWE, but I think they allowed him to do this one off for AEW.
So? Really?
So
I think I don't think he's there permanently. If he's anything, it's if it's a couple match deal or something setting up for a storyline. But yeah, I also feel like this is bridging the gap. This is a whole thing that someone talked about for fantasy booking later on with Edge retiring. That like this is bridging the gap so that Edge can retire from WWE, come over to AEW for one match with Christian against the Hardys, and then be done.
That's fair. I mean, I buy that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was the end of that match. Jack Perry, I am really enjoying your heel run so far now. Finally, you're actually finding your character with it and what to do.
Right.
Promos could get a bit better, but that's always a place you can work. And
right.
Now you've settled into where you need to be.
I'm more on board with it now that we've had weeks to kind of watch it progress a little bit, because as both of you know, my response to that turn at Forbidden Door was just like, what the actual hell are we doing? It's like, all right, fine. And then I was like, okay.
What I need to see now, if Hook's actually doing a thing where they're changing him up a bit, send him to ROH, put him in the pure rules stuff.
Yes.
To really get that technical stuff going, because he's not going to do a promo or anything else. And give me Hook versus Shibata for the title.
Oh my God.
I'll be happy as he moves on from there.
I would melt. That way. I would cry. I would scream. I would do all the things.
So the internet did not like this Jack Perry Rob Van Dam match. They did not like how disjointed they were saying it felt. I don't think they like Jack Perry as a heel, period. So they're gonna kind of jump on anything. And then they were calling Rob Van Dam kind of old and broken. And
well, the internet
was so much smoother and faster than it should have been. Honestly,
well,
the age of Rob Van Dam in there.
The internet wrestling community, and I politely say this, they can shove it for all I care, because they were the same.
Where should they shove it?
Where the sun don't shine, ladies and gentlemen, non-binary folks. But
what's the opposite of Ski Team?
Well, they can shove it because
The
not that long ago, the internet wrestling community was also crying out they wanted Jack Perry to become a heel, and now that we got it, they're like, never mind, we don't like this. I don't trust the internet wrestling community because they're fickle as all hell.
I trust Simon Miller, and he liked it.
Boom! There it is.
That's the old.
That's a
in
t-shirt.
Simon Miller.
Simon Miller.
In Simon Miller, we trust. Just like have him on the dollar bill.
Oh, absolutely. So I loved it. The only thing that was missing was I didn't see a traditional Van Daminator, but I'm sure it's out there somewhere.
They came close, but they didn't do it a couple
You're
times.
right.
They made hints of it, and I was like, oh, it's coming. No.
Which that's also what makes me think that maybe he's back for another match. Maybe it all in. Who knows? To get that on a big pop on a big stage, because he would be a draw in Wembley if they can get him across country borders. That's the only thing I don't know if they can do.
If he's one of those I'm not allowed to leave the country sort of people.
Well, with his history of like arrests and drug paraphernalia stuff, he may not be able to
Probably
go outside the U.S.
Right. So
I would love to see more Rob Van Dam healthy. And you're right. I forgot about that WWE Legends thing, which if that's all true, they gave him a one-off to come do this. That's really big of them randomly.
They only brought him back for the Hall of Fame recently. So it's like he hasn't been used that much, and he's been doing stuff in Impact on and off. So it's like,
it's kind of weird too, because it's the same thing that we saw last week on Collision with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. He came in and was guest referee for Punk and Ricky Starks' match.
And got hit with a belt a bunch of times.
But Steamboat could still go. Like his match with FTR not that long ago was actually really solid. It was a lot of fun. Well, we were talking about the Lucha Brothers earlier, so we got this backstage segment interview thing. See, okay, so like, I'll be honest, it's weird hearing Penta speak in English because usually Fenix is the one that speaks English, and then Penta will usually just speak mostly in Spanish, and then Alex Abrahantes will translate. But hearing him, I don't know if it was the sound quality, but like Penta was getting missed on the microphone. Like I had to like, what did you say? What's happening?
No idea what he said.
He was talking at the side of his mouth.
Exactly.
It was coming out that way because he was trying to smile big with the joke.
And he was walking forward as the mic was going behind him, and it was like, I can't. I'm
intense, and you can hear me because I'm over.
Yes, that is exactly what happened. I was like, I love the Lucha Brothers, but Penta, you know better. We've been at this for a while now. You know better. Obviously, also shout out Alex Abrahantes is one of my favorite like hype people in AEW. Sure. I don't know if they want to go full silly, but him versus Jose the assistant would be a lot of fun.
How could they go any sillier than when he was dressed in a cloak coming out with Penta with the giant like shovel and stuff like that? Like that was full on silly. Like,
that was awesome. I love that Alex is just there for whatever. Like him and the Lucha Brothers are always down with whatever happens. So I'm like, you guys are great.
Well, including this tonight, because this seemed like it was a little too much. And also, I'm also pissed off at the finish of this because
me too.
The BCC up for what it is. This type of pin is not in their repertoire. They talked about how they drilled like technical pinning, technical things. Like Danielson got them on this. Why would you go for this type of like shenanigans?
Well, I will talk about it because I was upset with that ending of the match that we're about to get in a little bit for the ending. Just as like a person of lucha libre history, like I understand why, but I hate it and the implications behind it. I don't want to make it racial, but I'm going to a tiny bit.
Although I will say Aubrey did the best thing, and watching her react at the end of that when she was taking care of that, and like, get the fucking towel. Like,
yes, Aubrey. Yes, it was great. So
he like literally put Penta's head between her legs. It was like, I'm covering you up with my crotch until we get a towel here.
Well, and then we'll talk about this when we get there. Moxley was laying down on him.
Yes.
Yeah.
Moxley was
a little bit because Mox's character is crazy, but he respects. Like
so we'll talk about when we get there.
Yeah.
But I have some thoughts on that as well.
All right.
Sure. So after that promo, we jump to
the funeral of Roderick Strong. May he rest in peace.
Funeral of Roderick Strong. MJF and Adam Cole
by the way,
better than you, baby.
Like in kayfabe, you're flying him out to these wrestling matches still in a neck brace, so he can't wrestle. Why are you bringing him there? Like, why are you allowing him in the building? He should be home recovering from a neck injury. Is it because his doctor's there? Is it because, in general, he has no home to go? Like, is he living out of a trailer?
Last week also took me out when he full on went rage. I laughed.
Yeah, but was like kind of rage, like Kyle punching drywall rage.
So
Okay.
so
fine.
let's go through this promo because then I have questions and I have concerns. So
Sure.
MJF and Adam Cole come out to the ring. They make a great joke about the Midwest being my favorite place. May lightning strike me down, and then they wait for the lightning,
Yeah.
which I thought
Never
was
ever did I
hilarious.
say they were mid. That is just out of context, totally edited.
They loved him in Ohio. I thought they were eating up
Ohio.
everything he did. What else did I write down at the top
Did
of
you
this?
catch the "You're our pervert" chant?
yes, that was great.
Yes.
Okay, so
But he acknowed it. He was like, yeah.
so as this promo was going on, I was just like, okay, like I love this. And this first half of the promo was awesome too. But then Adam Cole steps in and be like, hey, so I have some news, right? And I was just like, ooh, the scheming begins. Because essentially Adam Cole says it's like, hey, if you want to, Max, we can still go for tag team championships. And Max like, what the hell do you mean? It's like, oh no, not the AEW, because those are already going to be, defended. But this is just like, if you want to, we can have a match on 0 Hour for the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. And I was like, I swear to God, if you take those titles off of Aussie Open, I might fight some people. And MJ,
Except that it'd be wonderful if they did.
honestly, I love Aussie Open. I really, really do. But they're not doing anything with them properly in Ring of Honor. It makes me upset. At least MJF and Adam Cole would bring something. But then I was like, okay, so then am I going to see them on Ring of Honor? Because that'd be kind of cool once in a while. But whatever. The point being, MJF is a little apprehensive. And he's like, sure, why not? And I'm like, we still didn't get confirmation if we're actually getting this match on 0 Hour. So I'm going to wait. But that'd be awesome. And
MJ on ROH tonight, they're going to confirm it. They have to.
MJF's line is just like, well, I do love me some gold, and like turns deadpan, Baker breaking the fourth wall to the camera, and Daddy loves a cheap pop.
That was I
fell out of my couch laughing. I had to pause.
They had to change cameras because he nailed it on this.
Broke the fourth wall. He's like, Daddy loves a cheap pop with the eyebrows.
Well, and this is me pulling back the older wrestling guy in me. He pulled a Mick Foley. That was a Mick Foley face going, aha. But like, it was so perfectly done. And at the same time, like, then he goes, Cole, and he says the name of the town. I'm like, you're going full Foley. Thank you. This is so good.
Not to mention, so this was the second half of the first part, because before that, Adam Cole was starting to get a little butthurt because MJF was going in on him with these digs. It's like, Max, this is not what we want.
So MJF misreads Adam Cole's talking about the title as you want to have a promo battle and just destroys him for about 15-20 seconds. Like, oh my God, he had
misread the situation. My bad. I love that's his catchphrase now. It's my bad. And then we get into maybe possibly seeing this ROH Tag Team Championship match on 0 Hour for All In.
The amount of teams he referenced and all the stuff there, like they were very specifically like picked as like ones that influenced Cole, not influenced ROH, and broke up in certain ways that were backstabbing to everybody. Like this was so perfectly woven. If you know the history of those, and even if you don't, you get an idea that why Cole chose these ones. But I got to go back here. Tony Khan is watching our podcasts because I called and I said I would book this. They have a match early in the night for the tag titles. Didn't say which ones, where they either get injured or try to injure each other at the same time while they're doing it, get tired, and then they have their match at the end of the night. And so the breakup, it's not a breakup, but they're both scheming behind each other, and then that leads into the match at the end of the night, which then basic Taylor Swift bitch is going to interfere in and throw everything out of whack.
Okay,
but I said this literally 3 weeks ago, and look what's happening.
Speaking of Taylor,
Tony Khan, hire me on.
Speaking of Taylor Swift, a bitch, let's get into the second half. So, fucking MJF, man, generic white guy comes on down. Roderick Strong, he left the diamond mine for this.
Polo shirt and his chinos.
MJF,
so
like,
he looked like Kerwin White.
Roddy tries very hard to be hurt and cut this promo, and then as soon as MJF comes to the ropes and then just starts going in, I was like, oh, Roddy. It was like, all in the background as MJF was giving his little promo to Roddy, I was just like, all I hear is like "In the Arms of the Angels" playing in the background. I was just like,
I texted Mikey while watching this. So Roderick Strong left
Diamond
Mine for this.
Seriously.
Like, it's just like you came for one match, you kind of showed who you were, and now we're just literally cutting your legs out, and you are going to have to climb out of a ginormous hole.
You may as well just gave MJF a shovel, because my gosh, he was pushing him into the crowd.
I don't know what you generic white people do, but here's what you need to do. Go home, lock the door, go up to your bedroom, lock that door, go into the shower, play some Taylor Swift, and shake it off. Like, just
shake it.
Hug your Hello Kitty pillow.
Hug your Hello Kitty pillow.
And shake it off, you simple bitch.
I'm surprised he didn't like say something about ranch dressing in there or something else. Just like,
oh, that would have just been icing on the cake. Did he?
No,
did
that is icing for white people cake.
I'll have a vanilla cake with ranch dressing, please.
It's a carrot cake with ranch dressing.
Yep, they make those at Costco, I'm pretty sure. Did Roderick Strong do something to deserve this?
No.
Is he some kind of asshole?
He
literally exists. It's nothing to do with him.
Now that
one of the best people.
Now that Bobby Fish is no longer a part of like this little group with Kyle O'Reilly and Roddy and Adam Cole, like Roddy is now at the bottom of the totem pole since Bobby Fish, your scapegoat, is no longer a part of this.
Well, and if they had Red Dragon there with Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, if they had the three of them saying Cole was bad, he could have taken them all down. But honestly, Roddy without backup, and that's why they brought the Kingdom in, is like he seems like a simpering idiot instead of someone who's actually butthurt about his friend going down this path.
It made me mad because I was like, you kind of had a kick-ass match against Jericho across the arena. It's like, oh, you can still go. And now you literally turned into what MJF called you. You're just being a whiny little bitch. And then, of course, the Kingdom come out.
Like you talked about, this is why I'm confused, because the way that this Adam Cole MJF thing is gone, why... And this is friendships in general, me in the given circumstances, I wouldn't be friends with you anymore if you start acting like this in front of me. I'm having way more fun with this guy, and this guy seems to get me and understand me and be helping me with my dreams. Your neck's been kayfabe broken for 6 months. What the hell is going on? The Kingdom comes out. He cries in their shoulders, it looks like, which is sort of this half-hearted, come here, hug me.
Staring daggers at MJF. I loved it.
So strange.
I love Matt. I don't care what the wrestling internet says. I actually like Matt Taven. I know his reign as Ring of Honor champion wasn't necessarily the best, like towards the later of the 2000 period, but I think he's phenomenal, and I love the Kingdom.
I got to see more. I don't know much.
Watch ROH.
Back to the cult of ROH. Oh,
the Kingdom are always there.
Shake my hand, Professor. Shake my hand.
Very nice. So Adam Cole. It's mad at MJF, shoves him, good bump, really gets mad that he left. Why'd you say that to him? I'm friends with you and him, this and this and this. But again, like I was talking about earlier, the audience is ahead of creative. They chant for him to hug it out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because they don't want it to end.
And they do.
But they took longer than expected.
Yeah.
Yes.
They actually gave it room to breathe. They didn't just do it. So I give the performers credit. They let it happen.
Yes.
They reacted honestly to it and then gave it an extra beat to be like, will they? They're milking that crowd hard.
So I think where this will go, and this is my hunch, and I wrote all this down as I'm watching the end of this, MJF tells him, go to your boy. Go ahead, go to your boy, go to your boy, right? I think we're going to have this angle of MJF has never had a friend and doesn't know how to have friends. And Adam Cole is basically the first friend MJF has ever had. So MJF doesn't know what to do. That's the psychology and the narrative I think that we're going to get to. I don't think Tony Khan's going to jump off this horse. I think he's going to ride MJF Adam Cole as long as he can. And now I think they're scrambling to rewrite stuff because it wasn't supposed to go this well or this far or get this response. I think Roderick Strong's going to betray someone or go to betray MJF and Adam Cole catches it. Something happens somewhere in there. And then we get this MJF Kingdom thing for a little while. At least I hope so, because I don't want it to end.
Well, I can also see Roddy getting betrayed by the Kingdom at some point because they're trying to take a shot at Adam Cole. And he then is torn between, do I save my friend from the Kingdom who said they were his friends, or do I stick with MJF in this match against Aussie Open? because the
Sure.
Kingdom's been going against Aussie Open for their titles. They're coming for him soon.
That's gonna
So
be
that's
a
built
great
into the
match.
bottom part of this as well.
Oh,
Like,
that
will
could be
the
where we're
Kingdom
going.
try to stop them from winning it? So,
Woof. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting.
yeah.
But again, and to everyone take note, this is good writing. This is good. Now we
It
have
would be
somewhere
an
to
interesting
go.
way, like if during 0 hour, because I don't want interference of the main event for that title at All In, but during 0 hour, if Kingdom and Roddy stick their noses and cost MJF and Adam Cole that title, then you perfectly have reason to set up a 6-man tag at All In. All Out, sorry. There's too many All Ins, All Outs.
All in, all out, all together now.
Yeah.
All together now.
It would
All
be
about the
perfect for
Benjamin.
All Out, where you have the
All in the
Kingdom
family.
and Roddy taking on Adam Cole, MJF, and somebody. Oh, that'd be so great.
Mm-hmm.
I
Oh.
think they're gonna build it and build it. I don't see them getting off this MJF Adam Cole thing.
Not
It's
until maybe
working
even the
too
new
well.
year.
They
Yeah.
have 4 different types of shirts. Like, it's working.
It's so good. I love it.
And
Total sidebar on this, just quickly. I remembered something else I had in my notes down here. I really enjoyed the breaking of MJF, like where he came out of character when he got in to do the Bebe at the beginning and realized he was early popping up. He's like, "Oh shit!" Whoops. I was like, "I see you, Matt. Max, I see
he
you."
ran over
I
there to
see
be
you."
like, "Oh, I'm late," and got there and went, "I'm hella early."
Yeah, he popped up too early. He's like, "Oh, that's me."
I love Max. I love MJF. I love the storyline. I'm still invested to see where it goes. This is refreshing, and it might be because the other storylines across major promotions have kind of been dragging a little bit, or have been lacking.
No, how dare you?
Stretch it for another 30 weeks.
Speaking of stretching things for another 30 weeks, I don't think BCC and Lucha Brothers are done, and
They're not.
All right.
I'm gonna say it like I was like, oh cool, we're gonna get this match. I think it's gonna be fun. And then I watched it. I'm looking around. I was just like, I feel like I'm missing something here because I was like, I feel like I've seen all this before. Like, what is happening?
This is a spin your wheels match, which could have been used for perhaps another match in the tournament for the Women's World Championship, or perhaps setting up the fact of like who's going to be at Wembley now, who's having something backstage. I don't know. Maybe just a match with a goddamn storyline.
Okay, because I was not like this. I was kind of disappointed with this match, not because of the performers in it, but I was like, this is like the umpteenth time I've seen some iteration of this match happening. We don't need to see it anymore. It's the same, like, it's like paint by numbers. I know the spots that these 4 are going to end up going. And the ending actually kind of really irritated me because I was just like, how do I go about this with, fuck it. I'm not being politically correct on this one. So for those,
Politically incorrect corner with Mikey.
Mikey's non-PC corner.
The non-PC corner. I'm so sick and tired.
POC corner, though.
Yeah, it's the POC corner. That's what we're calling this, I guess. Fine. So, for those of you who are not aware, in Lucha Libre, it is like the ultimate disgrace when you take off a luchador's mask because that is their pride, that is their joy, that is their identity. It is
them.
They hold them dear. Like, forget women and children. Like, that is the number one thing to protect. I have hated it in just various iterations in AEW because this is not the first time that Penta has had his mask pulled off. Or the Lucha Brothers, one of them always gets their mask pulled off, and I've always hated it. And I know it's usually against a heel team because, like, that's the disrespectful thing to do. But I don't know. This one kind of left an icky feeling with me. I think only because of what happened afterwards, where Claudio is wearing it and parading it around. I was like, good job of making me hate Claudio as a heel. But I was just like, as a POC, I was like, this one feels really weird. It's not the first time that the mask has been pulled off, but I don't know. I can't put it in exact words, but just the parade of it afterwards, I was just like, ooh, this doesn't make me feel great.
Was this a bit? Was this a work? Or was this just sort of going off script and playing around?
This is what I saw because I had the same question, Professor, because at the time from the wide shot they were showing, you didn't see it get pulled off. You just saw the weird pin.
Also, camera guy, you're fired. Camera guy, you're fired.
Camera guy didn't see the moment.
He didn't. And so at the same time, then when they get the replay and you come over to the side, they're like, oh, like I saw the end of the pin. I'm like, is this mask off? Where'd it go? They didn't catch it, so that the viewer didn't know what the hell was happening until the replay, and they had to describe it. So,
Right.
and then seeing Claudio do it, like him putting it on, that was terrible. Like, honestly, shouldn't have happened that way. I did enjoy, for a heel perspective, him like parading it around afterwards, because that's what
I
he would
did
do.
too, but the putting it on like is what killed it for me. I'm like, oh, that's really
Now-
bad.
Tainted now. Like, that's fully tainted.
Like in the lore of
So
Lucha Libre, if somebody else wears your mask, you're not supposed to wear it because like superstition
Yeah,
brings
go
bad
back.
luck. Like everything you got, like if you drop the American flag, like you got to burn the mask, like you can't use it anymore.
I think what makes you feel icky is exactly that. Is this sense of, not to go full professor here, but that's my nickname.
Do it.
When you have a ritual, when you've created a ritual, and you abide by that ritual, and now that ritual goes from truth, as in belief, as opposed to fact, because we don't care about facts can be proven, but truths are what you believe in, right? That's where
Right.
faith. So when you're leading down that path of ritual, belief, and truth, and if that's what you believe, and that's the story, and that's underneath all of that, now you have this image of, I'm going to say this, a white person usurping the ritual of a person of color, and not only doing that, but making a mockery of it all of a sudden. Now that means something a little more. That's more than just heat. That's me shitting on a ritual.
That's disrespect. Yeah.
That's where okay, there was a line somewhere in there, you found it. Now you have to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
He could have puppeted around all he wanted.
Like I laughed a little bit when he pulled like Shakespeare towards the end of that.
Yeah, like
that was fine, but when he put it,
mocked him with it.
but like the full like camera shot of just him in frame with him wearing it and just making that stupid face, I was just like, oh my gosh. And disclaimer, I am only one POC who's bringing this up. My voice should not be taken as the generalization for my entire peoples, and I am just one person. But
Absolutely.
If I feel this way, I'm pretty sure there's a couple other people out there who watch this and are just like, I don't know about this, man. And I also want to say, I do not blame the performers in this at all. It was just a decision. I don't think there was any malintention behind it. But the way that I perceived it on my television screen was not the best. And
Sure.
I was like, I got to take a shower after this.
This one was so gray that even with the context, you have a hard time going yay or nay with it, right? And that's when you're starting to get into sort of who made this choice and was this a good idea? And I definitely egregious and icky feeling.
Mhm.
I think they got to think twice about where they go with the masks and Lucha.
This was the other problem with it that I had, is that was all they could come up with to continue to get heat in this rivalry.
Yeah.
Because they've gone everywhere else. And it's not a good decision. And so basically they're pulling at straws to make this lengthen out when you don't need it. Like, again, as I said, this was not needed on the show. Moxley and everyone still have that heat from what they did to Best Friends in the parking lot. They could have had their promo and that was it. And that's all we needed from them. But they had this match with the Lucha Brothers ostensibly to get them both on the card, but it didn't set up anything for all in or all out. It didn't do anything to further the storyline. It literally just got cheap heat for pulling off a mask, and then worse than that, like, what was the basis for that?
I have a theory. I think, and this makes no sense because I'm like, the Lucha Brothers lost yet again in this within the last couple of weeks in this triangular feud of Blackpool, Best Friends, and them. I think what's going to happen is that I think either at All In or All Out, Lucha Brothers want to get back at them for what happened to Penta. So then it's going to be 3-on-2. But then I think Orange joins the Lucha Brothers. That we get a 6-man at All In. And then I think we set up Mox and Orange at All Out.
Could be.
That's the rumors, and I hate it.
I don't want Orange to be in a triple 3-man tag thing at All In. He needs to be defending his title by himself at All
Right.
In.
I know.
I
think
feel like they could save that for All Out and do that for do it reverse, and that could work a bit better, especially if Mox beats the crap out of him at All In, and all of a sudden now they're like all together on that. They have a common enemy, but it still makes no sense. In that losing Pac screwed this. It looks like their entirety of what they were doing was based around
Pac getting injured.
I'm very interested to see how the Orange Cassidy and John Moxley would even work together, being so drastically different in
They've fought before.
styles.
Yeah.
They fought before, but it was early on in Dynamite history when Orange wasn't a champion or anything else. It was just a match between them in the Daily's Place era that
Interesting.
worked well. And like seeing Mox get pissed off at like how nonchalant he was.
Right.
Now with having Cassidy being banged up, it's going to be Mox being that like attacking wolf and picking him apart. It's going to be interesting.
Oh, for sure.
I think that I disagree with doing this to get heat, but I do see why it was done, and it's just disappointing. Like you said, like there's 100 different ways you could have gone. You went this way, which is going to alienate some people and kind of feel weird and icky. Okay, that's on you. I'm going to stay over here and watch because I don't know how.
No, yeah.
How I want to feel
It
about
left
any of
part
that
of me-
shit.
Part of me hopes that Claudio brings the mask to ROH tonight and is playing around with it.
Oh, that would be so evil.
It'd be terrible.
Well,
but it'd
that
be
would be terrible and evil, but then that would make sense. If he shows up wearing it, now we have a problem. Now
I
you've
prefer
taken
to do the puppet with it. If he has it actually over his head, I think I may fast forward through that part. It's like nope.
puppet that thing, like go play around with it. Don't make it more than
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree. No.
So this next part, I feel like didn't even need to be there, and I was kind of not paying attention to it because I was trying to come out of those feelings that I had. All we got is that Kenny's all-in plans will be revealed next week.
Yeah, no.
It did not.
Yeah,
Kenny did not need to
that at
cut
all.
this. Kenny's just like, bro, I'm trying to leave. Like, can we hurry this up? Like, and I was just like,
Man,
at the same time though, they did fill the background with one weird extra walking out the other way.
This is obviously a different place. Man, hire me. Give me a microphone. I can do better than that guy. That guy drives me nuts.
Alex Marvez.
He doesn't want to be there. His spots are always bad. The wrestlers don't want to work with him. He has one move where he goes, "Oh, I'm shocked you don't want to talk to me." It's like, why are you doing this?
Well, why do you think they always have him out in the parking lot? They don't let him in the building.
I know.
He's just out there walking around.
Honestly, if you were gonna have a backstage character like this, it should be like, give me the nosy reporter trope. Like, give me a full like notepad and everything. Be like, all right, so I heard this, and that. Like, try to break into people's locker rooms and everything. Like, trying to like hiding out in dumpsters, trying to get a scoop with the sound recorder on. Like, that could be so much fun.
Pay me money to wait in dumpsters to interview wrestlers. I will gladly do that. If you can match my teaching salary, I will travel the world waiting in dumpsters to surprise
Tony
wrestlers.
Khan, if you're willing to shell out the money, not just for the professor, but honestly, you can include all the Bi-Conics as your investigative reporter teams backstage.
You don't even have to match what I get paid to teach. Like, give me insurance for the whole year so it's not cut for 6 months of it. I will happily do that. I have none problem.
My children can go to the doctor. I will go anywhere you want.
Whatever you want.
If our children,
This is
if the children and us can, then yes, I'd be so into. But
oh no, not
again,
even us. I will settle for my daughter having medical care.
If my son can get his teeth fixed for free, fine. I will live in a dumpster and interview wrestlers. That's the state of America.
I don't have any children, but if my mother can get health care, like, I will be happy. I will do whatever you want. Seriously.
As long as it's not Roddy Strong's doctor who's in the arena that he has to travel to every time because he's there for some reason with a neck injury.
Right.
Who knows?
But
that's what it is.
I get
like you can't
so
fly a plane.
I'm interested to see.
He breaks his neck.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if what Kenny's going to do. We'll talk off camera because like I have a really big hope, but I'm also a little trepidatious because it would be too soon. But we'll see with that. Next we get Mogul Embassy, Prince Nana dancing in the entrance, and Toa Leona looking at him like, "What are you doing?" Like, was
so much fun.
Was unironically like a pop for me. I was just like, this is stupid. But Prince Nana just be like,
oh yeah.
He is. I love him
Brian
so
Cage
much.
Still surfer stinged up, like it's just.
Toa Leona looking at Prince Nana like, what are you doing?
Brian Cage is gonna telegraph every time Sting is around. Is that just what Brian Cage is gonna do?
He is the Doppler for Sting.
He really is. Like
Sting's in the building. My face is changing.
It's like it's like Animorphs, but like with face paint.
It only glows when Sting is near.
I was gonna say, like,
man, I'm enjoying Mogul Embassy and their shenanigans as a group, and this is actually a pretty decent faction. So
I don't mind them as a faction. This promo kind of fell flat to me.
Well, the second half I feel like kind of like threw me for a loop because I'm still proponent for there needs to be somebody added into this, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. But you know, Swerve is trying to cut this promo, but Prince Nana kind of like trying to get everyone to be quiet. I'm like, I know you're the heel, and that's fine. Eventually, Swerve comes in and just like lists his grievances, and then he lets AR Fox talk, and I was just like, oh. I was like, all right, AR. I was like, it was okay. You need a little bit more work. And then he calls out Darby, and Darby's just like, honestly, I love Darby, but I think it would have been better if he's just like, nah, the time for talking's over. We about to fight. And then Swerve can say, you and what army? Is like, you have to remember, you have friends, I have friends, and then go from there. But Darby, like, I was like, Darby, they murdered your homeboy. They like attempted murdered your homeboy last week on live television. And then you start this promo with like, be like, you know what? I couldn't get a hold of you, AR, but you got here on your own. I'm like, the dude just like attempted to kill your friend, Nick Wayne, last week. I'm like, is this the correct approach that we want to go with?
We're coming a week off of a mini snuff film of a murder in a garage in the middle of Seattle. Film.
We call it the Shotzi special.
Which, you know, this Grindhouse feature with blood and guts murdering some 18-year-old. And that poor window that had a skateboard through it. Like,
that window deserved better. Carry on.
And Swerve is carrying the bloody like tank top.
Yes.
That was iconic right there. I was like, yes, I love continuity. But Darby, this is the way that we're gonna go with this.
And the first thing Darby says is, I used to call you all the time. That's what you're gonna start with?
Be like Drake, I used to call you on my cell phone.
You never answered when I called. Like, okay. AR Fox is not comfortable on the mic. That's apparent. He's said 10 things since he got here.
I think he can get, with a little more work, I think he could get better because, like, that seems to be the problem with a lot of the AEW roster is that their wrestling talent is phenomenal. It's just because a lot of them were on the independent scene. You don't really have to focus too much on promos on the independent scene unless you're Ring of Honor. But or Progress. Progress does a lot of promos too. But anyways,
I didn't hate this promo. It fell flat to me coming off of what we saw last week and sort of my expectation of like, all right, we're gonna see crazy shit when they show up. Darby coming out and that, okay. I don't dislike Darby. I think Darby's fine and solid in the ring. I'm still trying to find a reason to like Darby the way everyone else likes Darby.
This iteration of Darby is not the best. Like last year, Darby was kind of fire, and then when we started AEW, Darby has also been fire. I think he's gotten kind of lost a little bit after the 4 Pillars match at Double or Nothing, because I was like, because leading into that, I was still on board, and now Darby's kind of just a little all over the place. But ultimately, Darby ends the promo saying that just like you have friends, I have friends. And then we take like too long for the lights to come back on.
God, yeah.
The tech person.
It's like a Bray Wyatt amount of time.
Like, and then Sting is back in the ring. But like we miss Sting taking out Brian Cage because the lights come back on and Brian Cage is already on the floor. And then I'm like, okay, so like I understand it's Sting, but I'm like, Toa Leona, like you are bigger, like height-wise and width-wise as Sting. Like, why are we running? That's also true. Oh my gosh, Sting.
He's got a board with a nail in it. Yeah, and he just
Sting keeping Prince Nana from running was the funniest thing ever. Like Darby's trying to pull him back too once he gets to the ring. I love the shot of Sting with the bat like to Swerve's throat and be like, "Oh, you scared now?"
Almost missed again by the goddamn camera. Like,
I know.
His face, you couldn't see anything. It just was Sting's back.
But the locals in Ohio had a really tough time with this show.
But ultimately, Prince Nana like goes back and pulls Swerve out of the ring, and then they retreat. AR Fox's facial expression on the stairs was the best part. He's like Pikachu surprised face.
How did you not expect Sting? Like seriously,
it's always Sting and Tony Schiavone. It's Sting.
You're Sting.
Like he had to set it up for like an hour before. He was like, "Oh my gosh, it's dark. What could this be? Look at all the lights on people's cell phones. It's so dark in here. What's going on with this?"
When he did that, I was just like, "We know what it is. Like, come on, we know what's happening. I know you're trying, Tony, because they took too long to bring the lights back up."
He's nearly 70. You think him jumping in the dark to get into the damn ring doesn't take forever at this point?
I know, but even still,
this was like the 3rd or 4th cue that was missed for the whole night. If you not to jump back, but BCC coming to the ring, even though we were in picture-in-picture, there was an extra like 2 minutes before the Lucha Brothers came into the ring.
It was
A
ridiculous.
huge miscue there, to the point where even picture in a picture watching it, there was like, they've been standing there for a long time, and then all of a sudden we're come back. It's like, hey, we're back from picture in the picture. Like, where are? Oh, they're here. Oh, okay.
I don't know, bro.
There's
Like,
some weird miscues.
It was,
There were
but
too
I'm
many commercials there too. They should have cut that off about halfway through the commercials, but that's beside the
for
point.
reals. I am happy to see Sting is okay because I worried about him after him and Darby took on Chris and Sammy, and we got confirmation that it is going to be Sting and Darby versus Swerve and AR at All In a coffin match of no things. And then I'm sitting here and I was just like, so we're gonna pretend that Keith Lee still doesn't exist? Okay, that's fine.
He doesn't. He doesn't exist. He's in some sort of purgatory on Rampage somewhere.
It makes sense. He left. He got released from WWE for this nonsense.
I think Taz was laughing at the coffin match. If you go and listen to it, because
Yep.
all of a sudden it's like, hey, we're gonna have that in a coffin match. Why?
That's what I said. I was
Out of
like,
nowhere.
Taz is saying exactly what we're thinking. I was
Yeah,
like,
Pretty much.
I'm like, so Darby and Sting are gonna win because Darby has never lost a coffin match yet. And
it's gonna be some weird AR.
no, I think Darby.
18-year-old.
I think Darby's getting the win because you need to have some sort of momentum because it's going to be him and Christian Cage for that TNT championship, which, by the way, Christian Cage is killing it on Collision. The promo with his daughter on Saturday was fucking hilarious.
So good.
It's
so
like,
good.
Dad, can I touch the title? Did you win this title? It's like, go find your mother. Security,
She's not credentialed. Get
she
her out of
doesn't
here.
have the credentials.
Wow.
Escort her out of the arena.
And it was his actual daughter too. It wasn't an actor. Like,
Yeah.
that was his daughter.
That was also so the little girl last week that Jack Perry was using as a shield during Dynamite is
Christian's
Christian
daughter.
Cage's daughter.
Yeah.
We were wondering about that. Do you know?
Yep.
we got answers to that. I was like, continuity. I loved it, but
Back to this match though. I feel something in my waters. Like, it's a coffin match. They're gonna have the coffin on stage. They're gonna open it up, and Nick Wayne's gonna be inside.
well, see,
Pop out and beat the shit out of Swerve.
well, okay. So normally that would be cool if we didn't get the fact that we're getting Nick and Darby versus Swerve. No, versus the parts of the Gates of Agony next week on Dynamite. I'm like, oh, so Nick is okay. Oh, okay.
Well, no, but he can still be okay. It doesn't mean that he has to be beat up in the coffin.
That's true.
going to be the thing. He's going to pop out. There's going to be a whole thing about his dad being dead, which is even worse. I know they're going to say it on commentary.
Oh no.
Boom, yeah, it's gonna because they're gonna have like Swerve's gonna bring the coffin down and it's gonna have his dad's picture on it. Like, we dug this up. This is,
there's
like,
gonna be
it's
something.
Oh,
It's perfect.
It's gonna
to
be
be heavy.
bad.
like I
There's gonna be
hate it,
something-
but like in the best way possible. Like that's how
It's gonna be
Swerve
so bad.
and Swerve would be such a. What I love about Swerve is I love him as a heel, but outside of this, like the stories you hear, he is a consummate professional. He's a really nice guy, and when he does a lot of heel tendencies, he's one of the few wrestlers that actually will go to the other person and be like, "Hey, I was thinking of this. I know it kind of toes the line a little bit. Are you comfortable with it? What are things that you don't want me to say?" Like he actually makes sure that he stays in character as a heel, but he wants to respect his opponent and like the personalized and everything. We loved it.
And you'll do better work. You do better work with consent like that. Like,
Exactly.
You'll go farther, faster.
Yeah.
It's amazing. So
Oh.
we get like the Speedy Gonzalez round of the bumpers for Rampage, Collision, Dynamite next week, and recap of what we have so far for All In. And then we get to the main event, which was fine. And then the ending kind of took the wind out of my sails. So I was like, oh, that's disappointing. But
And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Tony Khan Accountability Corner here for Dynamite, August 9th, 2023. And I'm excited to hear what JVL has to say about it.
Oh, we're getting a special. This is gonna be great.
Tony, buddy, pal, come here. It's me again. It's JVL. I'm not going to stop doing this until something changes. You booked a main event again, which seemed like you were, again, scared to put it in the middle of the card because for some reason you're not trusting anybody. And you booked a main event that was basically the same match that we had last week with Shida, where she's got to defend it. Now, I'll give you, it's an interesting concept to have your women's champion defend her title in the first round of a tournament for her championship, because that makes utter sense. But at the same time, you booked her against Anna Jay. Awesome. You're using someone else in there, but it was very predictable. But I'm glad you used her in there. There were a couple of inventive spots, but this was the only match again, and the only promo. You gave them less than 5 minutes, maybe 6, to do most of it, and then you cut it off because of TV time, because something ran long, probably MJF and Adam Cole, so that they didn't get all their spots in. Your champion, the main event, and none of the spots get in. What the hell? You even let it be known that the people there on the side, the 2 guys that are helping out, still tried to do the spot at the end for the near fall, and your ref went, I saw it, bah. Tony, we've talked about this. Your fear is hurting every bit of your women's division because you don't have more than one example of what it is on any show. You are literally showcasing what could be the worst or best every night, and you're putting it so much pressure on them to be perfect, like America and the world does to most women. Thank you, Barbie, for bringing that up again. You're literally saying to them, you have to be 11 to 30,000 times better than the men in a shorter amount of time, and yet also still be the demure, mid-card level stuff we want. What do you want from us, Tony? I didn't need BCC versus Lucha Brothers. I didn't need 2 MJF promos. I honestly didn't need the craptastic 10 minutes we got at the top. Give Sheeta and Anna Jay 10 minutes. Give your other women on the roster another match. Make it as big of a spectacle as you want. You have so many places to pull from, and all you want to do is sit on your hands and go, look, I did the least possible work here to showcase that I'm really a big proponent of women's wrestling. I put them in a main event. That should be enough. Triple H can put them in a main event. Shawn Michaels can put them in a main event, and they hate women's wrestling, at least over the last couple of weeks. How are you any better? You literally have to do nothing, and you can make this better than anything else. You could turn your head around and blink, and honestly, you'd have a better women's match on the card. But all you do is sit on your hands, let Aussie Open give you their belts on ROH, and take up screen time that could be given to someone who actually cares about wrestling and doing a good performance. I will not stop yelling this from the rooftops until we have at least 2 to 3 matches on Dynamite that showcase this division. And I'm not just saying the same 3 people. Get some people over soon. God damn. And stop sending lightning bolts to my house.
And this has
accountability corner.
Yep. I would like to put some addendums to that TK accountability corner. Number 1, this match was only 8 minutes and 44 seconds, which is a damn shame. Number 2, I would like to come in and correct a statement that JVL says, where we said that Triple H and Shawn Michaels can put women in a match. Triple H kind of hates women too at the moment. Shawn Michaels is the only one who's giving us more than one women's match over on NXT. Just saying.
And it's barely that.
That was beautiful.
ROH has done better.
Oh,
beautiful.
ROH is the standard of putting multiple women's matches on a card. NXT is a close second where the matches may be short, but there's more than one, and women actually get more promo time backstage and in the ring. Also, by the way, I think we're getting Lyra versus Rhea round 2, so give it to me now, but that is besides the point. Back to this match.
For Tony Khan. Tony Khan is not setting anyone up for success in this at all. Oh. He is literally doing lipstick service to the women's division by saying, we've stuck them in the main event, there they are. But no, you didn't, because you cut their time, you cut their match, and you gave it to some other things that went nowhere. The damn BCC match did nothing for them. It didn't set up a match at all in. It didn't set up anything else coming out of it. You're spinning your freaking wheels on this when, honestly, my idea, put one of the other tournament matches on this card. Don't do more than that, but 2 of them. Get the other participants with that on Collision or wherever else we're doing this. You get that final match, and Toni Storm can interfere or do what she wants in it, and then that sets it up so then you have another women's match to play with because you've got Statlander on Collision who's going to be doing the TBS title. Like, where in your mind does it not sit well that if you build a tournament not to, to showcase it more often? ROH, you had 4 freaking opening matches in one night that I had to sit through, and they were all terrible. I'd rather that here.
Me and JVO had to sit through a very lengthy semifinal matches for the quarterfinal matches for the Ring of Honor Television Championship.
Back.
It was so bad.
My God, just literally book one more match and I'll be somewhat happy. One more match so I can see a different style of wrestling, because I love Sheeta and I love Anna Jay, but that, as we said, it was clunky in certain pieces and they were trying really hard to get it there and their chemistry was a little off. But when you have that as your only example on your show.
And like you said, that's a tall, their time was cut. They said, move this quickly. They said you're up against it because you're the main event. They said you got to cut stuff. You got to move. So they were, having to work harder for just what they were supposed to have in the beginning anyway, that people were hack and slashing at. I absolutely agree with the Tony Khan accountability corner today. No one... Is it a fear thing? And then we got to wrap this up. I want to start another topic. Is this we're afraid of losing viewers thing? Is this a money thing? Is this women's wrestling is there?
I can't even say.
Nobody can pull the trigger.
At least on Dynamite, like Dynamite has, okay, there might be some recency bias for me, but honestly, even though I still want more women's matches over on Collision, it is like night and day when I'm looking, because I watch both, and like comparing Dynamite and Collision, I'm just like, you could tell that somebody else is booking and writing for Collision, because the 4 women that were being shown on Collision right now, I'm just like, okay, cool. You got Chris, your TBS champion, cool. Willow Nightingale is always in the mix in AEW. Diamante is now on the Collision roster, which is fantastic. And then you get the ultimate, the badass, my homegirl, like Mercedes Martinez is now being the staple for the women's division on Collision. And that shit makes me excited, because me and JVL know how hard she can go. Like, she has proven it. I'm still upset that that WWE let her go, but whatever.
They didn't know what to do with her. That was
I
the worst
know.
part.
But man, Mercedes Martinez is amazing. But
you have at least 4 women there that can be in a couple matches. You've got, honestly, if you're even looking at it that way, go the full stereotype route. You've got the blonde bombshells on frickin' Dynamite. You've got the Bunny. You've got Penelope Ford. You've got Anna Jay. You've got
I want that tag team. I know Bunny has been out on injury, but give me those tag teams again. Because, like, man, I remember the day, like, the women's, like, hardcore match would be, like, Willow and Ruby versus Bunny and Penelope were amazing. Like,
where the fuck is Abaddon?
Serious.
Where
the
Abaddon?
Fuck is my girl?
I've seen Abaddon once, and I was enthralled by the Abaddon. I haven't seen her. She's on the inactive list, injured or inactive. I don't know where Abaddon is.
Again.
So with that taste in our mouths,
what do we review this? What do we rate this?
What's the scale over here on Dynamite? Are we still using the mini scale?
We're doing minis now.
Let's just do the mini scale. That's the consistent across all of the reviews now. We're using the mini scale.
Out of 10 minis, what do we think of the August 9th, 2023? We gotta get like little faces that are just minis. Like, hi.
I might add that to my list of things to do. We'll see.
Or just like there's a 10 face happy mini. There's a 5 face indifferent mini. There's a 1 and 2
There's a 1 face which he's not there. It's just a blank screen.
He's left.
Yep, he's gone.
There's one of him in a drive-through. There's one of him playing Magic somewhere.
There's one of him watching the matches we're talking about as he's sitting on the thing.
What do we think as a not quite go home? But
shout out to Minnie. We love you. Just know that. I give this, like, I'm gonna be honest, like, just objectively, it wasn't horrible. But I hate to say this, Raw was a lot better, and I gave that a better score this week.
Wow, that doesn't happen often.
I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 10. Like,
5 out of 10.
Here's why.
5 out of 10 minis.
So SummerSlam numbers. So you felt this way with SummerSlam.
The opening segment the opening segment, like, destroyed the credibility I had this week in Dynamite. Then it slowly picked up a little bit, only for me to get disappointed once the placard for the women's tournament came on screen. The mixture of the Lucha Brothers promo and that match also was a big downer for me. And then Kenny Omega did not need to be there in that promo. Like, it was like, even though he didn't take up that much of the screen time, he didn't need to be there because it didn't serve anything. Plus, I feel like the direction of the Mogul Embassy and Darby promo did not, like, it should have went a different direction. So a lot of things weren't bad. It was just either weird, awkward or very disappointing. And then the main event match really sunk my ship, so to speak. So that's why I give it a 5. Like, it was just a mid, like, as MJF says, it's very mid episode of Dynamite. And it's disappointing because I actually really enjoyed last week with the 200th one. And then this one was like a wet fart now that we're building towards All In, which sucks because the pay-per-views are always phenomenal and the wrestling's going to be great. It's just the build to these pay-per-views, not just in AEW, but across WWE as well, fucking suck. So 5 out of 10.
200 was okay. We had our issues with 200 as well.
But
JVL, what do you?
But it was better.
No,
I was going on with this. This was basically like we went to 200, we kind of hit that plateau little thing, and then we tripped and fell a little bit over the edge.
Off the plateau.
I'm giving this like a 4.5 minis.
Sure.
And it's not that it was terrible wrestling. It didn't get much of that anyways. But in general, the pacing didn't work. The lipstick service just soured me completely because I love those performers. And I was so happy to see Anna Jay in the beginning of the evening and the end of the evening and have a little bit of prominency. But overall, it didn't set up enough for All In. It for what it did, it was okay. It took up time with people that just seemed like we're contractually obligated to get paid instead of actually building shit. And then you have a wet fart right at the end in the worst possible way that wasn't the fault of the performers. It was the fault of the assholes earlier in the freaking night. Take like FTR's stare off that went too long. You got the whole thing with the Lucha Brothers match. Honestly, if we had taken both MJF and Adam Cole things and split them over 2 weeks,
sure,
that would have been even better too. So you just didn't pace it out and you tried to cram too much stuff in there, but not using it to forward your narrative. That's a 4.5 for me. You don't even get the halfway point.
There you go. I feel that we didn't talk a whole lot about that main event, but there was just them trying to make something out of nothing because they knew spots were cut and just some random shoves and random hits and then 30 seconds of I'm going to push you, you're going to push me, and them obviously trying to figure out where do we go, where do you want to jump to, what are you thinking? That's not their fault.
I definitely trying to get herself back in her top the whole time because wardrobe malfunction halfway through, like
very uncomfortable for her. I agree with y'all. I think it's in that 49551. It's right in the middle. If the MJF trampoline park promo was not there, this dips to a 3 or 4. Like it goes way down because you just lose interest in me. I do agree though, and this is happening, and this happens across promotions. When we find something we like, we do it too much, and then sadly, the women's matches and the women's promos suffer, and that sucks because it's sort of you're doing right over here, but since there's not equal equity, the equity is off. Therefore, we're not respecting everyone at the same time.
Exactly.
And then the lipstick service is really easy to spot and check out on the top. So yeah, I'm right with y'all. It's a 5. It's right in the middle. Like you missed.
And I'm going to put this out there going forward. For every week that he does this or doesn't do anything to help out his women's division on Dynamite, I'm removing half a mini each week. It's just like basically it's already at negative half a mini going in, and it's going to continue to happen because I can't enjoy this anymore. If I could see a couple good women's matches, I could get past the idiocy that we had on this, but I can't see it, and it's not there.
There you go. I think you're absolutely right. This has been the Bi-Conics Wrestling Podcast YouTube reviews. Sorry to do the
Bash at
bumper
the Beach, Clash of Champions, Night of 1,000 Stairs, people breaking arms.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Did you have something?
No, you want me to do the outro with the bumpers and everything?
Look at all of our
on the socials.
Yes. Yeah, if you like our reviews, check out the other reviews we have on the YouTubes. Check us out on the socials where you can
share them.
Share the videos on the YouTube with people. Tell people about us. Check out our socials to stay up to date when said videos go live, as well as behind the scene and clips. The TK Accountability Corner definitely is going up later today as a thing. Also, make sure to check us out on where you can find podcasts where we talk about just everything outside of television reviews, and we talk about anything and everything wrestling, including we may or may not have a podcast episode where we rank all the theme songs for the WWE and NXT pay-per-views coming soon.
And
But,
then also ring that bell, get those notifications. I'm all for it. Check me out at the JV Lexicon on all the socials. Let me know what you think about all this stuff. Please engage us, comment, do those things. We want to get in front of more people, and we need your help.
Those of you that are commenting on our YouTube videos, thank you so much. I enjoyed the conversations we have with you.
Please let it not only be me.
Yes.
Always support your local DIY podcast, right? Like, we're just local.
No. We're not talking about DIY. This is AEW. We're not doing WWE.
Good knowledge.
Save that for main roster in WWE. But thank you so much for tuning in to another review of AEW Dynamite. We will probably be back next week in some capacity to give our thoughts on more AEW Dynamite. But as always, here from all of us here at the Bi-Conics, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, and until next episode, adios, sayonara, and thanks for watching. See you later.
Go see Beasts of Creed.
Yes.